And welcome to Birds of a Feather. We're uncovering how all of our meaningful relationships truly shape the success we have in both life and in work. And I am so fired up to introduce today's guest, Rodney Smith. Rodney is the founder of the Ascendancy Group, and Rodney's talent agency offers services for influencers, professional athletes, and celebrities. Rodney and I worked together at CA Technologies many moons ago, about a decade, and he's been a friend and somebody I've held dear to me for quite a while. Rodney has also held multiple technology sales roles before jumping into and launching his own firm. And, he's always been very intentional about building and fostering meaningful connections. So, Rodney, you're definitely an inspiration to me. I'm grateful to have you here. And I know that all of our listeners are in for a special treat. So thanks for being here.
Most definitely, man. Thank you, man. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, amazing. So I was thinking about like what I wanted to talk to you about here. And I kind of mentioned to you as we were getting ready that your industry is just a really, really interesting one to like learn about and just understand how relationships matter. And so I'd love it if we could kind of set the stage for the people who are listening. Maybe you can just start off by telling us a little bit more about the Ascendancy Group, and we'll go in further from there.
Sounds good, man. Well, the Ascendancy Group is a talent and sports marketing agency. I founded this about 5 years ago, actually working in the corporate space and then also doing this on the side. But man, to make things extremely easy, we do everything for the pro athletes outside of the field, outside of the ring, off the court. We work with pro athletes across multiple sports. So whether it's NBA, the NFL, boxing, golf, wrestling, NASCAR, etc., we cover that. We do everything a sports agent doesn't do. So when you think about sports agency in the sports marketing space, two different things. A lot of times a sports agency, they do have the marketing piece and the umbrella to it internally, but their whole goal is to get the athlete the biggest contract. They don't have time to focus on the big endorsement deals, the marketing plays, because they have to understand what's going on in their perspective sport. So what we do is we come in, we take the value of that player, we go out and build their image and their brand outside of what they do. So what are you doing from a community standpoint? How well are you when it comes to leveraging your brand? Let's say like the Dallas Cowboys, which is the most marketable and the number one sports team across all franchises. There's value to that. We could take that value and then partner up with companies like Capital One, partner with companies like Ericsson. We can do fireside chats, shoe deals. We can do social media collaborations. Anything that pays these guys money, that's what we're in charge of doing.
Amazing. You're a good friend and good partner to have, I'm sure. I imagine that these athletes are very grateful for you on and off the field.
Oh man, most definitely. I get a lot of great gifts too.
Yeah, I love that. I was thinking about just how you and I got a chance to meet each other, working together, and kind of the left turn that you took, right? From in technology sales to then jumping in and really building your own thing from brick by brick from the ground up. And it's wildly impressive, but it's also scary. At least, for a lot of people, I'm sure can relate to, hey, do I actually take the bet on myself? And so I wanted to just get your thought on, how did you feel while you were making the decision, taking the leap, getting out of corporate America, hanging up the W-2 to go and find a way to make it happen? What was that like for you?
To be honest with you, man, it wasn't scary at all. I felt like it was time. I am a firm believer in God. And when you think about like just the belief in God, you're believing in something that you can't see, right? That's what faith requires, believing in something that you can't see. So, if I'm going to call myself a Christian and call myself a follower of God, I have to know that he's also going to provide. I have to be comfortable and I have to truly believe that he's going to provide regardless. I prayed about it. It's a decision that I felt that God made. And I was like, all right, let's go ahead and do it. So when I left the corporate space, man, to be honest, there was no fear. And, I was already in transition of doing this. So, just to kind of give you the high level story, not the, long story short, I started a bourbon club, a whiskey club when I was actually, I think at CA Technologies to be exact. And I didn't know anything about whiskey at the time. I would travel to Atlanta and stuff a lot. I would meet up with some of my clients. They want to go have dinner, drink bourbon, and they would order all these drinks, and I wouldn't know anything about it. So I'm like, you know what? What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start a neighborhood whiskey group, and we ended up starting one, and that neighborhood group ended up growing to a city group, to a national group, and then we were international, and we ended up getting to like 30,000 members.
Wow.
So I leveraged that whiskey group to my benefit because I had a lot of other C-suite executives, from CTOs, CISOs, from Microsoft to Toyota to American Airlines, all of these Fortune 500 companies. These guys were in my group. I was leveraging, whiskey in my collection to go out and get meetings. And it also helped me get jobs because I built relationships with these people. And then I start doing events for some of these guys. The first guy we worked with was George Clooney with Cas Amigos. We did an event for him. We promoted his tequila in our whiskey group. We partnered up with Total Wine and Specs. We sold out in like 4 minutes. And they were like, dude, we got to do this again. Then they introduced me to Matthew McConna with Wild Turkey Long Branch. We did a deal with him. We did an event, sold it out. And I'm like, dude, I just saw that Matthew McConaughey, he walked away from, he didn't renew his contract with TAG. And I knew the president of Hublot at the time. So I asked him, I was like, hey, man, if I can get you connected with Hublot, would you do a deal with them? He was like, yeah. So got them connected, made the deal happen. I got a little broker's fee. And I'm like, whoa, I like this, man. I like the feeling of this. So I was doing that while I was working, man. And I kept doing that to a point to where I really start liking it. And then I was like, you know what? I've always leveraged Blue Ocean strategy as a form of me getting jobs. And I felt like my credibility was kind of diminishing because I wasn't being as productive with work. And that was when I knew that I had to step away.
I love it. That's so awesome. And for the people who don't know, can you go a little bit deeper into Blue Ocean strategy, how you think about that and how that fits in?
I mean, to me, if I think about it from an overall standpoint, it's really about relevancy. Leveraging, for me, what I took away from it was just being relevant. I've read a few books, that I just took a little bit of everything with it. And I found out, how do I become so valuable to an individual that they cannot afford to have me? And I would always find ways to be like, well, I'll give you an example. The first deal that I did with George Clooney, we didn't want any kickback. We didn't want anything. I wanted to show them that I can sell out of his products. By him doing that, that's money in his pocket. Let's do it again. Let's go to Houston. Let's go to San Antonio. Let's go to Austin. I don't want anything in return. That right there puts me on the mark. It's not like any other fan. Most people coming up want autographs, pictures. They want, they want something out of it, pitch a business plan. I didn't want anything. And when he saw that that I can be a resource for him, now it's like, hey, I got to get back to work, but I can't do this. And they're like, whoa, hold on now. Wait, we're making money. You know what I mean? Like, let's figure out, how do we continue to do that? And that form of relevancy for me is something that started the process and allowed me to be more creative in the ways that I built my relationships moving forward with these guys. Incredible.
Incredible and super relevant to kind of what we're building with Feather. We'll come back to that towards the end here. But it's got my wheels turning as well. I would love to maybe just kind of pick your brain a little bit as you think about, in current day in the Ascendancy Group, what are the types of relationships that have helped you not just get to where you are, but continue the momentum? Who are you working with? Who stands out in your mind? Why are those relationships important to you?
They're extremely important because I'm in a business where I'm trying to go find marketing deals for my guys. When I was in the sales space, the relationships was everything. It, right? You can leverage a relationship with the CTO of TD Ameritrade, have him leave and go somewhere else. And then that what they're going to implement, what technology they need. If you want to go find a new job, you say, hey, I know the CTO over at Ameritrade, TD Ameritrade. We did a $5 million deal with them. He's over at PayPal now. And I know that they're going to completely wipe out their whole database. Their whole data center. They're going to move over everything to AWS. Hey, I want to come work for you guys. This is probably another $5-10 million deal. That type of relationship gets you in the doors. And I use that same thing here with the sports agency. I leveraged a lot of my relationships as all the EVPs on the sales side, our CROs. There are so many creative ways that these companies can make money. And right now, the biggest challenge for companies like you, like myself, like any other small startup is they don't have any brand awareness. Their products are great, but nobody knows who they are. And I can leverage my players as a way to get through the door. If I know that, they're trying to go out and expand in Austin, and 12 of my clients went to UT and then went to the NFL, we can do lunch and learns. We can propose, corporate dinners with Vince Young, and then have you guys, the sales reps go out and use that as leverage to go reach out to whatever executive that's out there, to go spark that meeting or give tickets, invite these guys out. And it gives them a new way of thinking, like, wow, we never thought about working with a pro athlete in that space. So I've always built and had really great relationships, and I can use them now to call on them to help, generate more revenue for them. And it's been wonderful just to pick up the phone. And just
what I love about what you're saying, Rodney, is that it's not just a one and done kind of thing, right? You reference people that you did deals with probably a decade ago that you have still built and nurtured the connection with, that is continuing to create value and mutual value, right? Like, how does this brand get more awareness, and then how is that helping you? And I love the fact that it's not just, hey, what do I get out of this, right? How do I ring this? How it sounds to me, it's more about how do I add value first. That's the value add first, right? Which is the key to champion building and long-term relationship development. But I also would imagine that it's probably difficult just thinking about one faction, one group of the people that you work with, professional athletes, right? Like, and the question I guess I would love to hear your thoughts on is, like, what is it actually like managing a professional athlete who has training and has people trying to go and get involved with them all the time, and they're all over the place and they just got a lot on their plate. So that's one part. But more importantly is, how do you go maybe a little bit deeper into in context of an athlete, like from someone that they would pay to get value and work with, to really someone that they trust, right? And what does that look like for you?
Have you ever seen the TV show Ballers?
It's such a good show. Yeah, I think The Rock is probably one. Whether he's Maui and Moana or Ballers, and love The Rock for sure.
Dude, I mean, that's almost exactly what it's like, right? And for those that haven't seen it, I'll explain. You're dealing with guys that are a lot younger than myself, and they have all of the money in the world. Some of them have endless amounts of money. They have achieved more in life than you have, and then more than you probably ever will. So it's like, how could you provide guidance to them? You're talking to young people who kind of somewhat have to go figure it out on their own. And I think the best way that you build trust for me is to be able to move with integrity. I think when you move a certain way and people see that you don't just talk the talk, but you walk the walk, it builds that level of trust. Like if I'm out here just trying to always give advice to people and providing insight when they're not asking for it, but I'm not moving in that manner, people really, they won't trust you. But for me, I don't judge. I do me. They see that I don't put myself in a position as their peer. I'm always a mentor to them. I do provide guidance, and I don't want anything from them. Like I told you, I'm all about relevancy. So I'm going to bring you deals. I'm going to always tell you, what I feel like you should do. But at the end of the day, I don't judge these guys, man. It's tough at times because they're young, and we were all young and dumb, but when you're young and you have a lot of money, I'm now at the point to where I don't just take on any client, because now I'm trying to build a brand of integrity. I'm trying to build a brand worth of trust. Like, I want people, when they deal with us, they know that we have good clients. They know that they can trust us and they want to do deals. So I'm not just picking up any bonehead. Like I'll say there was a specific player with the Dallas Cowboys, not going to say any name. He got into some trouble, earlier on in his season, had gotten into some trouble at the St. Patrick's Day parade. And he was a pretty big name individual. Most people would jump all over a relationship like that. But for me, you spend more time dealing with crisis management than you do with trying to make money. And that's not what I want. So I always have a screening. The same way we interview people for a job, I interview my guys as well, too, because now I've done so much in the city, God, man, God willing, man, and by the grace of God, I'm sitting here in this position because of him. But for the most part, man, I don't have to go out and go find clients. Like, they're all referrals now. Like, I got a laundry list of people just like, dude, can you sign us? And I'm like, man, when I get bigger, I promise you we're gonna expand more. But for right now, I can't. So yeah, I'm doing something right.
Yeah, stop doing bonehead things, and then we'll have a chat.
Right.
Yeah, I love that. I was prepping for having this chat, and there was a quote that you shared. I've been following the stuff that you're sharing, all the events that you do and stuff, but there was a quote that you shared that really stood out to me the other day. And you said, whether you're working with billionaires, Fortune 100 executives, or first round athletes, trust isn't built with a pitch, it's built with presence. So first off, thank you for sharing your presence with us. That's awesome. But I would love maybe if you could share a story, right? Like one where it wasn't about the pitch, it was about the presence. One of your favorite stories where you built an awesome relationship and it helped to shape kind of where you are today. What comes to mind?
I would probably say one of my first biggest clients, and they weren't really that big. It was this is when LSU women's basketball, college basketball, was going crazy. They had Angel Reese, they had Flage, and then you had Caitlin Clark the same year tearing it up in college basketball. I had a young lady that had an amazing championship game. She ended up doing 7 for 7 on the three pointers. The first half, didn't miss a shot. Made 7 threes in a row. Scored 21 points, and she was the player of the game. I ended up getting her as a client by an introduction. This guy, he got introduced to her. He didn't really know what to do with her, and he heard about some of the things that I was doing. And I was really more dealing with retired athletes at the time. But, she was somebody that was potentially going to go to the WNBA. I met her, and I figured out a way to take advantage of that national title. She started with 30,000 followers on Instagram after that game, got about 150,000.
Wow.
And she was the one that really took me to the next level. I leveraged and learned how to be more productive, with managing people. That was a challenge because, for one, she was a lady. And you gotta talk to women a different way. You gotta hold them accountable a different way. You can't talk to them the same way you would probably with one of your young, men employees. So it's like, how do I motivate her? How do I keep her on the grind and keep her level-headed? Because now she has all of this stardom, and then just working these deals, Camille Rose, and then doing stuff at the BET Awards, the ESPYs, etc. I mean, it put me on a different level. And then I learned how to leverage social media. What most people fail at is they don't take advantage of LinkedIn, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook, and then know how to work these different platforms and know what kind of content to put out. I learned literally how to create FOMO on my page that brought me so much value. And now, man, like, I really don't have to do much work. Like, but I'd say about 75% of the deals we do all come from a direct message on Instagram, or either comes from a text message or somebody saying, dude, I saw your LinkedIn post, which is crazy to me.
Yeah, it's an awesome story. And, it takes a lot of effort, right? Like, especially when you're dealing with, to your point, like different personalities, different points in their career, different interests, different personal whys and motivations. It takes a lot of effort. And it sounds like you got a lot of different types of relationships. You got clients that you're servicing, you've got clients, so kind of like twofold, right? Athletes and so on, and also professional clients that you're pairing them up with. So there's partners and distribution channels, and man, it's a lot to take and manage it all. So I want to ask you, one more question, right? Like, when you think about how you actually do all of this, if somebody was out there, hopefully there is somebody out there listening that's trying to think about how can I be more intentional with my connections? How can I make, deliver more value? What would a key takeaway be that you could share with our listeners for today?
I think there's a multitude of things that you can do. Like, always being trustworthy is the number one thing. I think for me, I got to go backwards to go forwards, and I'll make it really quick. But for me, I didn't graduate high school. I didn't graduate college. I got my GED, and I moved up in the corporate space because I just completely wanted to be better than everybody. I educated myself when I got my job at Dell. I researched our competitors, 10K reports, financial management plans. I mean, like, I looked at every job description of who our personas were. I wanted to know what they did on a day-to-day basis, what their jobs were, how they affected them in board meetings. And by doing these type of things, researching, I never really had to have discovery calls. Like, our discovery call was me more talking to you as a consultant, because I know what your company does. I know what you do. And when you bring that level of credibility to a connection, that shows that, like, you care. You're not just trying to find money out of them. Like, their challenges, the things they're faced with, and you're providing a consultative approach to them to say, hey, no pressure, but this is what we're doing for our clients. This is what we're doing for the other CTO at the company is just like you. And this is how we help them scale their revenue. This is how we help them grow transactions, get exposure, etc. And you have those type of meaningful conversations, and you're not out here trying to figure out, hey, how are your kids doing? But you're coming to them with valuable information. I think they look at you as a trusted advisor. And at the end of the day, we're all busy, right? Nobody really has time for new friends. You figure out a way to help me make money and get promoted in my job, then that's a start. And I think that's where I add the most value for my connections.
It's incredible. Yeah. And I picked up a lot of things from this call. I've been taking some notes over here, and I think there's just incredible insights. You are just a treasure trove of insights. And man, what a fun experience you must be going through right now. Definitely very cool. A couple of things that stood out to me that I think I really resonated was when you were talking about George Clooney and even just now, right? Like, not leading with what's in it for me, right? Leading with, like, first off, let me do my homework. Let me put in the effort. Let me show you that I care. Let me put in the energy to go make sure that it's worth it. And then how do I add value to you before I'm asking you for something? It sounds like was a large part of the snowball of building the Ascendancy Group and being able to build an ecosystem. And it's interesting because, like, most salespeople or sales professionals, I think their product and their offering sells the deal. But what really sells the deal is the trust and the emotional connection, not just to the product or to the company, but to the people that you're working with, because people work with people they like. And, I loved that you were talking first being driven by belief. So that's awesome. And also the fact that you don't lead with judgment, which is a hard thing to do. I know I'm highly judgmental. My wife is the first person to tell you, yeah. But it's an important thing to do because, we have to go in there with an open mind, and we have to go in there with an intent to help and an intent to add value. And, as I've been building Feather and the platform around relationship intelligence, that's the whole premise of it. It is about how do we make investments into these relationships? How do we take technology and give us an opportunity to scale that without taking away the authenticity and the genuine effort that you still have to go and put in to be human and to really truly connect. Look, I know we're at the end here, but it's been great. The stories that you shared and the things that you shared here really I think are super relevant. And for everyone out there that's listening, if this has resonated with you or you need a professional athlete, like, certainly reach out to Rodney. No doubt about it. We'd love to hear your feedback and comments in the comment section. Anyone else who wants to learn more about what we're doing and how technology intersects with authenticity in relationships, head over to feather.vip. My name's Jeremy. This has been Birds of a Feather, and we'll catch you next time.